How you going, people? I want to do a follow-up to this Houston PD Goines corruption case, which I'm not hearing anything new in the media, but I'm getting a lot of comments that um, I got it wrong. They killed him. The SWAT team shot the homeowners because they were asking for help 2 hours later. I mean, there's all kind of things that people are claiming, and I don't know if they're true or not, but I'm just not going to jump on a wagon and say, "Oh my God, I can't." I can only go by what I have some sort of evidence or I can make it reasonable. I'm always talking about totality of circumstances and reasonableness. I can't just go because people are making comments that the cops did something that suddenly it's true and I should do a video on it. I've got to have some background. So I've got a couple documents that add to the story, which kind of tend to, lead to more of a cover-up. So let's take a look at one of these documents here. So the police chief of Houston originally said, and I thought I heard this, I can't find the tape, that there was no video footage. And he was going to make sure the SWAT team wears video footage now when they do entries. Some people are saying the SWAT team that went in were all in plain clothes, which would make it more reasonable that the people defend themselves. If you didn't watch the other video, these two guys are in the house, cop writes a warrant, says they bought dope there. The CI says he never bought dope there. The cop got a SWAT team together, did a warrant. When they went in, 4 cops got shot. 5 cops got shot. Maybe 4 got killed, but I don't remember all the details. But both homeowners got killed. Husband and wife, they shot the dog, and they killed both homeowners. And it was all based on a bogus warrant that appears to be falsified. And the cop that wrote the warrant had a bunch of dope and heroin in his car, and that's what they were looking for in the warrant. So there's speculation that he was going to use that dope to set them up and plant that evidence, which he's already been disciplined for keeping dope in his car 30 days before. He's a long-time drug dude. When you work in that environment, it changes you. You become the thugs that you deal with, but I'm not excusing his behavior. I'm just saying Houston PD has big freaking problems, and they're going to be trying to cover it. So when the shit starts flying, they don't want it flying on them. So the chief's going to be pointing at his generals or his lieutenants or captains, and they're going to be pointing at the sergeants, and the sergeants are going to be pointing at the team, and everybody will be blaming everybody. But for the chief, and I think he did say at one of the press conferences that I watched, there was no video footage. Well, this letter from him to the Attorney General kind of says there is videotape, and he's just refusing to release it. So in this letter, it sounds like he's referenced Public Information Act about the video footage, property, inventory, return, search warrant, etc. This is a follow-up to my letter dated Exhibit 1. Okay, the Houston Police Department. Above reference, copy of the letter. We believe, okay, here's where the meat and potatoes is. The department is informing the requesters that the department believes responsive information, meaning the thing they're asking for videotape. He's saying we don't want to give the videotape. Responsive information, exhibits 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, are accepted from public, I would say exempted, but accepted from public disclosure under 522.105 and 522.101 and 552.152 of the government code. So, in here, he's basically telling the Attorney General, we have these exhibits that they want, i.e., all video footage, but we think they're exempt. And I thought the exemption, he said, department will address these information held by law enforcement or any prosecutor that deals with the detection, investigation, or prosecution of a crime are accepted. Again, I would say exempted. I'm not sure why they say accepted. From the requirements of 502. So they're going to say because it's an ongoing investigation, because people were killed, we're not going to release the footage. I think that's BS. They want things to die down before they release this footage. Another thing that I'm getting heat about is I'm not covering this Houston News Now guy. Evidently, Houston News Now has a channel, and he kind of broke the story, and he's got a lot of information. I'm not saying he's a bad guy or a good guy. I'm just saying people are saying that the Houston PD arrested him on bogus charges because he was bringing heat on him. Now, I don't know if that's true or not. Houston PD did arrest him, but it was on another agency's arrest. He was already a sexual sex offender, registered sex offender. Supposedly there was allegations about him having sex with his children or something. Well, the children are older now. Evidently they complained, and now this other agency issued a new warrant because they got new evidence that they can charge him with a crime, and they called Houston PD and had Houston PD arrest him for him. So for people to run around and say, Houston PD, just arrest this guy for no reason, they're making up charge. I don't believe that. It doesn't sound, from what I read, I don't believe that. It sounds like since he's already a sexual offender, a registered sex offender, because of prior, he either took a deal or he pled guilty or they found him guilty. Otherwise, you don't become a sexual register. So because of that, they found more information. Now they open a case. Now, whether or not his daughter's lying, she's trying to screw him over, whether the cops talked her into it, you know, you can get into all that conspiracy, but it's not Houston PD that suddenly just drew up charges out of nowhere, which is everybody saying online. They just arrested him because he was getting too close. I don't think so. But that's my opinion. I don't have all the facts. I know there's people that are going to like him that are come here and hate on me because I'm not jumping on a bandwagon. Release information which would interfere with the detection or investigation of a crime. If this information deals with detection, investigation, prosecution of a crime as relates to investigation and not result in a conviction. So basically they're saying, hey, according to this, we don't have to turn over. So release of this information would interfere. So therefore, I don't think I have to turn it over. So what this letter kind of implies, and I'll scroll down in case you want to read the whole thing. Here's a section you can pause. We'll go down here. Here's a section you can pause. Go down here. Here's a section you can pause and read. And then we have the signatures of everybody who wants to be important in copies. All right. HPD staff attorney. Okay. So, and the staff attorney's only going to write what the chief tells them. Hey, man, I don't want to give this up. How can we do it? Well, I think we can get around it if we go around this and we say it's an ongoing investigation, and then maybe we don't have to give it up. And that way you can't get in trouble for lying to the public by saying there was no video footage. You can just say you didn't really want to give it. To me, the chief lied to the public when and if he said there's no video footage. And now he's saying there is video footage. We just don't want to release it. That's BS to me. So I do think HPD is trying to cover their butt, and it is a cover-up, and they've got a dirty cop, and it didn't start with him. This is ongoing. A cop doesn't get this dirty and get away with all this overnight. This has to be a culture of a PD. There's another letter. And in this is what's called a return search warrant. After you serve a search warrant, you're required to do a return within so many days, depending on the state. I think we had 10 days to do it per California law. I'm not sure what Texas law is. And in that return warrant, because you get a search warrant, you have to say what you found. Well, they went in for a search warrant looking for heroin because of the false affidavit where the cop said a guy bought dope there when a guy really didn't buy dope there. And they end up finding a little marijuana and a little, but here's the inventory. And when you do an inventory on a return search warrant, you have to list everything you seized. You can't seize something and leave it off the return search warrant. This goes back to the judge that signed the warrant, and this also goes to your record as, hey, I've served so many search warrants, and my search warrants have always resulted in seizing evidence of what I was looking for, which raises the officer's credibility when he does the next warrant. So on this search warrant, on what they searched, and they were directed to search and seize on the 28th. Let's see here. Normally it says the address. I'm surprised I didn't put where they were searching. But anyway, here's what they took. 20 gauge shotgun, 12 gauge Remington, 22 caliber Winchester, 7mm, and approximately 1.5 grams of unknown white powder. If you're doing a return search warrant, you got time to test that white powder. The fact that they said unknown white powder tells me they tested it, and it didn't test for crank, methamphetamine, coke, heroin, whatever. That's why they're using the term white powder. There's no reason they couldn't have done a presumptive test on scene, put a little in there, and see what it was. They would have said 1.5 grams of white powder, which presumptively tested positive for cocaine, or which presumptively tested positive for heroin. They didn't put that. They put white powder, which tells me they just took some freaking white baby powder that they found and went, oh my God, it must be cocaine. We got to put this in here because it might be a warrant. And they took it and didn't test it, which, again, leads me to believe sloppy work. And approximately 18 grams of marijuana. Now, so people understand what a gram is. A gram is about, if you tear open a little pink sugar, you know, the pink and blue equal or sweet and low, that's about a gram in there. If you pour that powder out, that's what a gram looks like. So they got about 18 of those of marijuana. And that's what they put in their return. Now, what everybody's saying is, and I don't remember reading this, but I remember hearing it a lot, that the homeowner shot them all, the officers, with a .357 handgun, which means he only had 6 rounds and he shot 4 officers. There's no .357 listed here. So if they release that the homeowner shot him with a .357, why isn't it on a return warrant, and why didn't they seize it, and why did they leave it off? More questions for more cover-ups on this investigation. This is a huge scandal, and I'm telling you, man, this should be in national news, and I think the only reason it isn't is because we've got PC liberal left media that doesn't want to promote a black officer doing crimes in the PD. And that's why I think it's being kind of squashed on the back burner. But I could be wrong. Maybe the liberal left just doesn't care if government gets out of control and lies and does all this. Because as long as they can get more government, who cares? If they can milk this saying, hey, we just had 4 officers killed, we need to double our police force in order to protect our officers so we can protect our citizens. Yeah, okay. You believe that. All right, so there's a follow-up on that. If I get more information, I'll put it out there, but I'm not going to put things just because people comment, you don't know what you're talking about. They arrested Houston now for no reason. Come on, people. All right, we'll end that there.